somber, reflective music begins softly and fades into the background in the heart of World War II. Amidst the deafening roar of engines and the chaos of combat, one pilot faced a decision that would define his legacy, not by the number of enemies he defeated, but by the lives he chose to spare. This is the story of Captain Wilhelm Hosenfeld, a man who proved that even in the darkest of times, the compass of the human heart can point toward the light. Welcome to WarPsyche. Today, we're not just looking at historical events, we're exploring the profound ethical dilemmas faced by soldiers on the battlefield. We often hear about grand strategies and decisive battles, but what about the individual choices, the split-second decisions that weigh a direct order against a deeply held moral conviction? Captain Hosenfeld's story is a powerful testament to this internal struggle. Wilhelm Hosenfeld wasn't a name you'd find in headlines about aerial dogfights or bombing raids. He was initially a teacher, a man dedicated to nurturing young minds. Before being drafted into the German army in 1939, stationed in Warsaw, Poland, for much of the war, he wasn't flying a fighter plane, but his battle was just as significant. It was a battle for his own soul. Surrounded by the brutal occupation and the systematic persecution of the Polish people, Hosenfeld began to see the stark reality of the Nazi regime. He documented the atrocities he witnessed in his diaries, expressing his growing disgust and shame. He wrote, "We are now committing a sin against humanity that will never be forgiven. We have no right to mercy or leniency. We all share the guilt." This wasn't just passive observation. Hosenfeld took incredible risks to act on his convictions. He used his position to help numerous Poles and Jews, providing them with false papers, finding them work, and even hiding them from the Gestapo. He saw their humanity when his government demanded he see them as less. This was his first act of defiance, not against an enemy in the sky, but against the very ideology he was supposed to serve. One of his most famous acts of moral courage involved the Polish Jewish composer Władysław Szpilman, whose story was later immortalized in the film The Pianist. In the freezing winter of 1944, Hosenfeld discovered Szpilman hiding in the ruins of Warsaw. Instead of turning him in, which would have been his duty, Hosenfeld listened to him play Chopin on a dusty piano. Moved by the music and the man's desperate situation, he brought Szpilman food, blankets, and a German officer's greatcoat to help him survive the cold. He saved his life, asking for nothing in return. Now, let us translate this moral courage from the ruined streets of Warsaw to the cockpit of a fighter plane. Thousands of feet in the air. Imagine you are a pilot. Your orders are clear. Attack a designated target. But as you descend, you see it's not a military installation. It's a town square, filled with civilians, with children playing, with people just trying to live. Your commanders call it a legitimate target, a necessary strike to break enemy morale. But your eyes tell you something different. Your conscience screams. This is the exact dilemma countless pilots faced. The pressure to follow orders is immense. Disobedience could mean a court-martial, imprisonment, or even execution. Your comrades in the sky are counting on you. Your country is counting on you. Yet, in that moment, you are the one with your finger on the trigger. The decision is yours alone. One such story, though less documented than Hosenfeld's, echoes through aviation history. It's the story of Franz Stigler, a German fighter ace. In December 1943, he had a crippled American B-17 bomber, the Old Pub, completely at his mercy. The bomber was shot to pieces, its crew wounded. Following orders and the code of the warrior would have been to finish it off. But as Stigler flew closer, he saw the terrified faces of the American crew through the shattered fuselage. He saw not an enemy, but fellow airmen in a desperate situation. He remembered the words of his own commanding officer: "If I ever see or hear of you shooting at a man in a parachute, I will shoot you myself." He extended that principle. He chose not to fire. Instead, he escorted the battered bomber to the North Sea, saluted the American pilot, and flew away, allowing them to escape to safety. He risked everything for a moment of shared humanity. These aren't isolated incidents. They are profound examples of what psychologists call moral courage, the strength to act on one's ethical beliefs, even at great personal risk. In the context of war, this is perhaps the most difficult kind of bravery. It's not about facing the enemy, but about facing your own side, your own commanders, and the entire machinery of war that demands obedience above all else. What allows a person like Wilhelm Hosenfeld or Franz Stigler to make such a choice? It's a deep-seated empathy, an ability to see the humanity in the other, even when they are labeled as the enemy. It's an internal moral compass so strong that it cannot be demagnetized by propaganda or pressure. These men understood that while they wore a uniform, they were human beings first.